This is Share the Vision, presented by the Resource Center, a discussion of programs and services of the Resource Center and about issues related to individuals with disabilities. This is May. It is Mental Health Month. A large number of people have gathered here at 880 East 2nd Street, the Resource Center facility in Jamestown, to talk about those issues and more. We begin, as always, with Steve Watterson, Community Relations Director at the Resource Center. Steve, good morning.
Hi, Dennis. How are you?
Well, fine, and looking forward to what's going to unfold over the next half an hour here, because there are a variety of topics and interests and concerns that will emerge, I think, from this conversation.
Yeah, as you pointed out, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we thought we'd take this opportunity to have some folks who are involved with our behavioral health programs come on the air and talk about the services and supports that are available to people in the community here at the Resource Center. And we were just talking off air before we got into it. I saw a list of all the classes and courses that our mental health programs offer on a weekly basis. I was astounded. I had no idea there were that many. So we want to share some of that information with our listeners.
Now, counseling might sound familiar to people, but classes and courses under the umbrella of mental health, that's a little surprising.
Well, surprising to you and I, Dennis, but maybe not to the people here.
Well, we'll pursue that in just a moment. I want to introduce, to begin today's show, Joe Ropoleski. He's the Article 31 Program Manager here for this area of the Resource Center. Joe, welcome back to Share the Vision.
Good morning, Dennis.
Very nice to have you back on the air here. Talk for a moment just to re-identify for our listeners what Article 31 Program Manager means, and then we'll sort of jump into some of the other topics to be discussed here today.
Article 31 is, I don't like the name.
I can understand.
It kind of designates just a general outpatient mental health facility in the state of New York. And when I say general outpatient mental health, that's a facility where folks would come in. They would see a counselor for a half-hour, 45-minute session. They might come in and see our psychiatrist or one of our nurse practitioners for a medication appointment. And then they leave and go on their merry way and live out the rest of their lives.
Joe, a moment for your background, your work leading up to working here at the Resource Center, because you are, if I have the terminology right, a clinician also?
I'm the program manager, but yes, for 20-plus years, I have been a clinician in various capacities, working with a wide variety of individuals.
I wanted you to say that clearly to our audience, because as we begin this show today, and May is Mental Health Month, I just want you to talk to all of us in the room and all who are listening today about issues related to mental health, awareness of them, perhaps the stigma that goes along with them sometimes, because mental health still, it seems, is something we say is somebody else's problem, but never mine, never my family, that sort of thing.
Sure, and that's, really that's a false thought that many folks have. Statistics show that 1 in 5 adults will suffer some sort of mental illness in the course of any 1 year, which means take a look around your family or your friends. I'm sure we all have at least 5 folks in our lives that we're close with. One of those individuals may be suffering with something, and because of that stigma that you mentioned, many people are very afraid to talk about it and to actually seek help, when the statistics show that treatment is very effective. And honestly, it's no different than having a physical health problem.
I want to take a moment now and stay close to the microphone there, Joe, because you're welcome to chime in on this further in a moment. Cindy New is here. She's the PROS Program Manager here at this facility at 880 East 2nd Street in Jamestown. Cindy, welcome back to Share the Vision.
Thank you for having us.
It's always great to see you.
Thank you.
For the audience that may not be familiar with you and your work, talk a little bit about PROS.
Okay. PROS is actually Personalized Recovery-Oriented Services. So it's a mouthful, so we do condense it down to PROS. We are a recovery-based, person-centered model where we actually look at class facilitation. We talked a little bit about the classes earlier. So the classes we have Monday through Friday. They start at 9 o'clock in the morning and go usually until about 2:45 in the afternoon. Individuals can look at our classes and what they provide, and they can make choices based on their needs on which ones they need to participate in. So they can come 2 days a week, they come 1 day a week, they come 5 days a week if they need it. So as long as we can identify that it actually helps them overcome a barrier that they have in their lives, they can work through those classes. We also do individual sessions. So they do have a counselor if they choose to do clinical services with us. So we have a variety of options available to actually help personalize their recovery road or their path to recovery. So they can choose clinical services, employment support, intensive goal acquisition or relapse prevention, or just community support.
A couple of things come to mind to help us identify more closely and better understand the services that you provide. Cindy, if someone were to come here, May, Mental Health Awareness Month, they listen to this program today, they say, I myself, someone who's close to me, really should be speaking to someone. Is PROS the first step, or would there be other courses or counseling that would come before PROS for them?
PROS is a more intensive model of recovery. So as Joe had mentioned, his is less intensive in regards to the spectrum of care. So if an individual is having to go into the hospital more frequently, or they're having a moment where they're risking a relapse of mental health or substance use addiction combined, they can come in and join us for anywhere between 1 to 6 months or longer based on needs. In some cases, it's just a touch-up. It's like a tune-up. Like we take our car to the garage to have it fixed for a tune-up if it's kind of rumbling a little bit in the muffler. And it's kind of like that. If you're having a little moment where you need a tune-up for your mental health and well-being, we're here for them, and it could be very time-limited if they need it.
Cindy, Steve mentioned classes, courses, which came to me as a little bit of a surprise. So just give me a few names or titles of some of the classes and courses that you offer in this PROS more intensive program so that the listeners and I can understand what they might be.
Right. So our classes really look at skill development to develop tools on how to get through everyday life. So one that we have one that's kind of unique. It's like, what tools help me rock my recovery? So we try to get a little bit creative with the names. You know, we have Temper Your Temper for anger management up in our Gateways location in Dunkirk. We have CBT for depression, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So we do include our theories here. We have Manage Our Emotions. The Infinity Arts program comes in and they help us do some wellness tools related to poetry and creative arts. We have a drumming session with them that they do once a week down at their location. Drumming sessions. So we get very creative in trying to find ways that people can use tools in their everyday life. So it's not just something that they have to come in and see here, but we can actually take out in the community and use it in public. So if that's drumming, walking, doing poetry, or doing some meditation or breathing, we have those abilities to do that.
We have two special guests from PROS who are going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes here, but there are a few other things that I want you and perhaps Joe to do before we get to that part of the program. Cindy, I did not ask you, but I will repeat the question that I offered to Joe at the outset, and that is issues, things that you would like to say to us in the room, to the community about mental health, since we are in Mental Health Month, and this is something that you work with and help people with on a day-to-day basis. What are the messages we should hear or hear repeated?
Okay. One that we really want to look at is that when you have something going on in your life, not to be ashamed of it, that it's an everyday situation that you're going to see throughout our community. It doesn't matter which economic area you're in, where you work, who you are, but all of us are impacted by some type of trauma or stress in our lives every day. Whether it is, we can't drive today because our car broke down, or, we can't make rent for the week or the month. So we're really looking at situations and stressors that we have that might start tumbling together, and don't be ashamed of them. We want to knock down those walls and the barriers that people have so they are more open to having care and looking at their overall wellness.
Joe, Cindy, together, how many clinicians, professionals are there working in your area or areas here at the Resource Center? Because it's really a sizable number of people.
Would you let go, Joe?
Sure. At our Jamestown clinic, we have 8 counselors, and we do have, again, a psychiatrist and 2 psychiatric nurse practitioners. And then in our Dunkirk office, we have 4 counselors and one of our psychiatric nurse practitioners goes to Dunkirk, and so does our psychiatrist. So we do have quite a few.
And for pros, here in our Jamestown location, we have 5 mental health clinicians, and we have 1 employment specialist, and we have a peer navigator. We have Mark here today, and he'll be talking here in a second. In our Dunkirk location, which is Gateways, we have 4 clinicians, and we have 1 employment specialist.
The services that are offered here, because people often in their mind see the Resource Center as a place that helps persons with handicaps or disabilities. So I want to put a point of emphasis on this. I remember from previous programs that really what you offer here is for anyone in the community. You're shaking
Correct.
your head up and down.
Yes. I need a little bell on my head so you know that I'm dangling down. Yes, and we are open to the community, and we look at anybody who needs mental health care. We do take a variety of insurances that you can find on our website, or you can call our registrars to find out. But yeah.
Article 31 is open to any individual in the community that is seeking assistance. Again, you can call the Jamestown Clinic or the Dunkirk Clinic, or search up some information on our website. Mm-hmm. There is a page on the website specifically for the behavioral health services that may answer some of the questions you have. And if you have more, feel free to call Cindy or I or anyone here at the clinic and help answer some questions.
Joe, I'm going to ask you to surrender that microphone for a moment and move it to the person to your immediate right, because we have more people in the room than we have microphones at the moment. My pleasure now is to introduce Mark Baglia, who's from the PROS program and is an employment specialist here. Mm-hmm. Mark, thank you for waiting a few minutes to join me on the air.
Thank you, Dennis. How are you today?
Fine. Cindy, since you are the PROS program manager, your microphone is also open, but you two can both talk about what happens in PROS a little more specifically. And Mark, the nature of your work as an employment specialist, let's just talk about that for a moment.
Sure. I facilitate 2 or 3 employment classes. One is Steps to Employment, which helps people, as it says, get the tools necessary to get a job in the community. Now, this is competitive employment in the community. The second one is doing some benefit management class, because people do have issues with their benefit, how employment will affect that. And a soft skills group. Soft skills is how people get along with their supervisors, they get along with their coworkers on the job, and how they deal with that. So my classes are varied, and it's very interesting to talk with people about employment.
At first blush, for people who maybe know a little bit about mental health or have done some counseling themselves from time to time, having an employment specialist in this arena might seem like something that's a little different from or outside what they did in their own counseling. So Joe and Cindy, talk to me about why this is an important piece of the puzzle as it comes together for someone in your program.
The one thing that's a little bit unique with PROS is that we really focus on employability culture. We want people to understand and be comfortable with the fact that even if they might be qualified for disability or have benefits, that employment actually assists individuals in the recovery process. It gives purpose. It gives ability to be supportive and free from relying on others and safety nets. But we want to make sure that people also understand the safety net is still there for them. So PROS really encourages individuals to look into education opportunities, volunteer opportunities, and employment with assistance of Mark or another employment specialist that will actually be there to support them in maintaining their employment or to gain employment.
There's one other person in the room who's yet to be on the air, but between Cindy and Mark, I'm going to have you introduce her now.
Okay. I remember with Ruth Miller, who was one of our success stories. Ruth has been a participant in PROS for a little while, and I believe it was several months ago, she was in my employment classes, and we talked a lot about getting a job in the community. And Ruth went ahead and talked about Access VR, which is through the New York State Department of Education, an employment program would help people with disabilities to get jobs in the community. So Ruth and I talked about it. She went ahead to do the paperwork, went to Access Fair orientation. One thing led to another, and now she's in the supported employment program through Access VR.
Ruth, good morning and welcome to Share the Vision.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I am very great.
I want to say first, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us on the radio today.
Thank
we
you.
are honored by your presence
So
here.
am I. I am very honored.
There was a huge smile on your face as Mark began to tell your story here.
Yes.
Ruth, it sounds like you're at a very happy point in your life.
Yes.
Was not always like this.
No, I had depression. I talked to Mark for one, and I want to look for an appointment, but there was an age thing about it. I'm in my 50s now, and that was one of the concerns I had.
So you're saying jobs are harder to find when you get a little older?
Yes.
I think that's something that a lot of people in our audience could agree with as well today, Ruth.
Yes.
And what's the nature of your work? What are you doing?
Right now I'm unemployed, and I have a disability due to I had an accident back in 2013, and it left me
Unable to?
unable to work and stuff, and oh gosh, I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I lived in a group home for a while, and then also I live in family care with a wonderful person, and everything. So I came back to Pros to be with a wonderful lady who's Italian. She's a good cook and everything.
Very important.
Very important. And I decided to come back, like I said, come back to Pros, and I want to have employment and concerns of my SSI and everything. And I figured if I catch up with Mark and everything, that I would love to get into some employment.
So you are looking for work now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck
Yes,
with that.
Ruth is currently meeting with her case manager from the Support Employment Services, I believe, coming up, which is her. And that her case manager is going to help her with getting her a job. Ruth, you also volunteered a little bit. She did a work tryout at the Humane Society's Second Chances, and did very well there.
Yes, which I got a recommendation and everything, and I'm very thankful. I'm very happy what I did, and I'm thankful for Mark that helped that and Joyce Pearson.
Thank you.
Ruth, you did something very courageous on this program,
Yes.
and you did it just sort of offhandedly a few minutes ago when you said words to this effect. I was suffering from depression.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for saying that out loud, because you have willingly confessed something that maybe a lot of us would find hard to say, even in a small group of people, much less in front of a microphone. So I
Right.
want to thank you with emphasis for saying that. And ask the following question, if you could help us some. What is it like to recover from being depressed? What helped you? How did you find the way out?
Right now I'm taking groups here, and I see a counselor here in Pros, and it is not easy because you don't get, I'm taking medication for this, and somebody would say there's no cure, but you just have to set, there's no cure for depression.
So
Okay.
you just have to keep working on it all the time.
It's one day at a time.
What encourages you to keep working on it, Ruth? And I ask you this not to be too personal, but to help the rest of us who may not be as bold and as easy, as comfortable talking about this as you are. What keeps you going?
To keep busy. I believe it's just to keep busy, and everything, and it's hard to explain. You just gotta keep busy and not drive other people nuts. I have a great sense of humor. For one, I have a great sense of humor, and I take out to my mother. For one.
Do you have goals in your life now, aside from getting a job, which is obvious for you, Ruth? Are there other things that you would like to achieve that you can see somewhere down the line?
Just to work, and probably someday to to work in probably, I don't know yet. I just haven't thought about it.
Well, Ruth Miller, thank you for sharing your experience with us on the radio today.
Okay.
It is so beneficial for us to hear your story. And I wish you, as everyone in the room, and I bet all in our audience as well, wish you great success as you continue to work on these things and as you continue to seek employment.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to turn that microphone back down for a moment here and give it back to Joe, and then open all of these up again for Cindy New, Joe Ropoleski, and Mark Bagley. Anything you want to add, comment on Ruth's story and the very courageous things she has done on this show here today?
Ruth was actually asked to do this morning, so it was sprung on her a little bit. So she was very gracious, and she was very excited to come on and share her story. With May is Mental Health Awareness Month, we here at PROS will also be doing some activities throughout the month that will help individuals become aware of what we do and how we try to overcome barriers. And Ruth will be part of that, and so will Mark. So then we're going to be having our first event is going to actually be an Employment Day, which here in Jamestown will be May 9th. It's a Tuesday, so maybe Mark can kind of walk you through that day a little bit.
Sure. At 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we're having an employment day here at Pastors PROS. We have going to have individuals from the community come and talk about topics that people will have questions with. One, we have a representative from Southwest Independent Living Center, benefits advisor, because a lot of people have questions about how benefits or employment will affect benefits. We're also going to have a representative from Access VR to come in and talk about the benefits that Access VR can do for people to help get competitive employment, and also have a representative from our Human Resources Department, because she's going to talk about the Americans with Disabilities Act and also how that's relevant to employment, as well as the idea of reasonable accommodations, which helps people keep and maintain employment.
You've used the phrase Access VR a couple of times here, Mark, and I just want you to say again exactly what that is so I understand.
Access VR is a program through the New York State Department of Education which helps individuals with disabilities, either go to help with college, employment, any other services relevant to getting people into the community. And one of our goals, the Resource Center does have individuals work with Access VR. Ruth is part of that too. It's part of a support employment program, and Ruth will be entering that program, meeting with her case manager very soon, and that case manager will help her find a job.
And there are other things that you're going to be doing special this month that are still to come, Cindy?
Right, we do. So keep an eye, not today, but in the near future, on our website for the Resource Center under Behavioral Health Services. We are looking at trying to talk about some of the tools that we do here to help individuals be successful in the recovery. So we have some guest speakers lined up. We're waiting for confirmation this week, but we're hoping that will come along in regards to the Infinity Arts program, and we have a My Strengths program that will be coming up that we'll be utilizing. We'll be talking a little bit more about that to come.
We have just a few minutes left on Share the Vision today, and I get the sense that most of the official business we needed to accomplish is done for today. So I'd like to just offer one more question or point of discussion to the professionals assembled here. I was at this past weekend, the play Least Resistance, which is about the heroin and opioid crisis in our community. It's being put on by the Winged Ox Players. And at some point in that play, and I can't remember exactly when, it just came to me. It was made obvious to all in the audience that sometimes there are connections between heroin and opioid addiction, substance abuse, and mental health issues. And what made me think to talk about it in the course of this program is that if you can deal with the mental health issues first, then maybe it's less likely that issues with substance abuse and addiction will become a major problem for someone. Do you get the sense that, am I talking the right language here?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, there is a high correlation between mental health and substance abuse disorders, and I guess as myself as a parent of 3 young adult boys and a teenage girl.
Bless you, sir.
It's just I can't stress enough to folks out there how important it is to reach out stay involved in your kids' lives, no matter how old they get, but also reach out to people that you know, people that you love, that you see that might be struggling with something and could use a little support, a little help, which could be the difference between that individual having these types of struggles in their lives.
So we're sort of back where we started in terms of May, of Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're sort of unwilling to talk about or bring up the subjects of mental health or depression or anxiety or any of those things, but to deal with them may help prevent us or someone close to us from having to deal with a much bigger problem if they seek relief from mental health issues in some very destructive way.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think what we're really always looking at is, in life we have what's called pile-on factors. One stressor.
Say that again?
Pile-on factors, where we have one stressor that goes on top of another stressor that goes on another stressor before we've dealt with the original stressors. So we really have these situations that pile on and add to our stress of everyday life. And so in order to find relief from that, we want to try to find positive tools that individuals can take, because in some ways we feel trapped when we get to a certain point and we can't go any further. So don't be afraid to come in and ask for assistance or ask somebody you care about if they can assist you and give you support to get to a point where you can be safe and that you can actually live your life. Because right now, if you're feeling trapped in one scenario, reaching out isn't going to trap you anymore. It just might release you a little bit.
Pile-on factors. Your description of that, your imagery is most illustrative. I can't think of anyone who wouldn't see that and say, oh, yeah, I understand now what you're talking about. Cindy, thank you for that. We have a minute left here. Anything else that you would like to add about your work here in the PROS program or Article 31 or the support that the Resource Center provides for the mental health of individuals in our community?
Again, if you yourself or someone that you know or love, you sense that there might be something off, it's okay to reach out and get some help and to have hope. Like Cindy said about the pile-on effect. You get to that point and it feels like it's impossible and you start to feel hopeless. But everything in life is temporary, and we always have to keep looking at what are the possibilities. What hope is there out there for me or for my loved one.
Thank you all very much. Steve Watterson, a note, comment as we come to a conclusion for Share the Vision today.
I'm just glad we had the opportunity to do this show. I think there's obviously a lot going on in the community with the addiction crisis that's going on, and to have the Resource Center as another outlet or piece of the solution is great, and so it's nice to be able to share that information. Have we done phone numbers?
We haven't, but if you'd like to reach out to the PROS program here in Jamestown, you can actually call 716-661-1510. Up in Dunkirk, you can call 716-366-7660.
And for Article 31, the Dunkirk number is the same, 366-7660. And here in Jamestown, the number is 661-1590.
And as Joe mentioned, you can go to the Resource Center's website, which is www.resourcecenter.org, and there is a page that's devoted to our mental health programs, and you can learn more there.
With appreciation to Steve Watterson and Cindy New, Joe Ropoleski, and Mark Baglia, and particular thanks to Ruth Miller, we're grateful for sharing the vision today.